be here quarterly, and Amber would be here every meeting that is scheduled. So, but we've never determined what dates the presenters would be here. And because Amber's not here to answer that question, I think that maybe we'll defer that to the next meeting. That fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So we meet every second to last Tuesday of the month, and so Amber needs to tell us what those days that the presenters would be here. But she intends to be here at every meeting. Okay? All right. We're not going to have any public hearings today. But we do have some agenda items, and we'll move right on to agenda item number 3, which is the land division filed by Secluded Land Company LLC to create 4 lots, town of Georgetown. And I think there's a representative in the room. Okay. I would have some questions for you. Well, if you want to present, go ahead.
Oh, I'll answer any questions you have. I'm Jack Akers with Secluded Land Company.
Jack Akers?
Yes, AKERS.
Could you turn the mic on, please? Thank you.
Better. Okay. What we have is, we did 2 10-acre parcels across the north end of the property. And now what I'm presenting is the certified survey map for the remainder of the property, split into 4 approximately 5-acre parcels. So,
Okay, I noticed that you do have a website, Secluded Land Company,
yeah,
and I went to it and I read it, and it says here that the cornerstone of Secluded Land Company's developmental philosophy, in cooperation with local government agencies, our company has adopted protective covenants to preserve nature's fragile ecosystems. Through these protective covenants and other means, our company has protected over 40,000 acres of land. Do you have standard protective covenants that you apply to each land division?
you know, a lot of those we did back in the day when we did a lot of waterfront property development, because we would restrict to a lot of things that the county would allow. And so we didn't want that to happen on our properties. But nowadays, the county ordinances are so detailed that they pretty much protect everything that we protected anyways. So on something like this, we don't really put any on them anymore. There's, you know,
Okay, so you're in the business of developing properties and selling it for a profit organization.
correct.
Yeah.
So in
okay.
Price County, they've done numerous land
Yeah,
divisions
so
over
with
the
out
years.
of
If you
Crane
can-
Chase, there was two 40-acre
There's
lots.
Crane Chase, there's the one on Smith Lake, that Norbert Holbein has. Really, all of Byrie Lake was secluded.
Mhm. Butternut.
But the Bunting Lane one, Von Segren's Corner out here on W was a secluded land division. There's been a lot.
Okay, well, that answers my
Answer your
questions.
question.
So, see, we would need a motion to approve that.
Yeah, so what it is, it's a 4-lot CSM. The 2 10-acre parcels, we wouldn't have any requirements for those because they're over the 10-acre threshold, so they don't have to go through the land division process. So it'd be that 4-lot CSM that we'd be approving, and that does need to go to the Department of Administration at the
It's
state.
submitted there.
Yeah. So once I get that review back, then I can sign that CSM. There was some question on being this is Georgetown. We don't have general zoning jurisdiction within Georgetown. However, it's shoreland. That's why
That's
this
why it's
needs to
on
come
this
through
agenda?
us. Yeah, we
Okay.
have shoreland jurisdiction throughout the entire county. So a portion of that is shoreland because of the South Fork of Main Creek. That's why it's here today.
Okay,
So, but otherwise, all the lots meet minimum lot size requirements. They have plenty of frontage on the town road. they meet the requirements of the ordinance,
So the motion would be to approve pending
pending DOA approval.
DOA approval. I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Kopish,
I'll second.
seconded by Michelle Drobnik.
I have one question here.
I have a question too.
As far as the driveways, do you do the access into these lots off the town road, or is that after the owner purchases?
What we do is we put in a trail, just a walk trail, but we don't put culverts in or anything. We refer them to the township to get their permits to install their own culverts and driveway where they want them, you know.
Okay.
So they would need to get a town driveway access permit and then apply for a fire number through
Yeah.
us once they get.
Yeah,
that.
I was just curious if that was done beforehand or if the purchasers do that. Okay.
I got a question too, just so I understand. We got the one thing here with the two, Lot A and Lot B,
Yes,
and now those two are these four now, right?
they're
No.
below that.
Oh, they're below that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or well, I should, yeah.
Oh,
So
so they're down here. Okay, all right, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, now I understand. Thank you.
Okay, motion by Kopish, seconded by Drobnik. Is there any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, opposed? Division is approved. Atkins Animal Rescue Fee Waiver.
So there should have been a copy of the letter that they submitted in packets.
Has everybody read the letter? It's in your packet. Okay, have we ever done this before as far as fees, relinquishing fees for this project? That's what they're asking for.
I can't recall that I've seen it on nonprofit developments, but we've also never been asked. Government entities are exempt from fees.
But this is an LLC.
It's a nonprofit.
Not
So this is not a government entity. That's why they need
501c3?
to, that's why they were sending the letter asking for a fee waiver. I would recommend that if you do choose to move forward with the fee waiver, you would still have them pay any in-kind costs that we would have to pay. So for example, for the septic system, there's $100 fee that we pay to the state off that. If a government entity is putting in a septic system, we waive the fees that the county would collect. We still collect the fee that would go to the state. So we're not out money, basically. Or for example, if a holding tank goes in, there's a $30 recording fee plus a $100 fee. So we charge $130 on that to a government entity.
That seems reasonable to me.
That's just what I would recommend, just so if they put a holding tank in up there, we're not out $130.
I just have a comment that I mean, would we be opening up a can of worms here to the next group that wants to
Exactly.
exempt us? They're not a government agency. I just don't see why we would exclude them.
I mean, what is the actual cost? What would we be waiving?
For example, let's say they build a,
Well, they're applying for a permit here.
yeah, they're going to get a land use permit for and I don't know the sizing yet. They're going to get a land use permit for the building. Let's say it's 2,000 square feet.
Mhm.
2,408 according to the letter.
Oh yeah, yeah. The
It's in the letter. the
square feet of the
footage.
building, yeah, 2,400. So it'd be the principal structure on the property, so it'd be 22 cents a square foot on that. So we'd be at $500 ish. So, and then the septic, and I believe that one is going to be a mound, along with the soil test filing fee of $50. So the mound is $450. So we'd be waiving $350. So plus a $50 soil test filing fee. So it'd be $900 roughly is the fees that we would be waiving.
Okay, the 22 cents per foot, where does that fee go to? Is that a county?
That's a county fee, correct?
County fee?
Mr. Chair, if I may just make a comment, sir. I just want to make a note. I agree with Doug. I don't think, it's not about the money, it's about setting a precedent.
Yeah, well noted.
Yeah, and I told the person that submitted I'd bring it to the committee. I don't have the authority to waive fees. The committee does, just like issuing refunds. We don't have a tremendous amount of nonprofits like this that apply for. That could be a possibility down the
Okay,
road.
the appropriate position now from the chair would be to ask for a motion to approve. Do I hear a motion to approve? Do I hear a motion to approve? Hearing none, the request dies for lack of a motion.
Brian, excuse me, Brian, what's the contract we just signed with them? 130,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got a certain amount of increase every year.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So we're kind of paying for it anyway, aren't we?
Yes.
I guess, I mean, for me, I'd like to, they say that because of the number of animals that we're sending there, I've not really seen a number of animals that we actually send there. You know, to show that, I mean, do they take animals from elsewhere as well, or is it strictly Price County animals? You know, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it for myself.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, floodplain zoning ordinance.
So I sent you a copy of the draft floodplain ordinance. This was an ordinance developed and reviewed by the DNR. It's basically the state model ordinance.
I see, I looked at your code, your blue, yellow, and red typically to me would be, you crossed it off, but in this case, you've added it. The what's in red is, and it has primarily to do with cranberry farms.
The entire red is actually to do with flooded agriculture or cranberry
Oh,
farms.
we do have a cranberry.
That's why
organization.
it's added in. So this model was done specifically by the DNR. We don't have a lot of choice on adopting that if we're going to choose to be in the flood insurance program. We need to have a compliant floodplain.
So rather
ordinance.
than go over, I read it briefly, but is
Sure.
this going to affect our existing cranberry operation?
No, actually, the Cranberry Farms portion was put in and developed with the Cranberry Association in Wisconsin. It actually makes it less restrictive than the general floodplain. If we adopted it without that flooded agriculture section in there, it would actually be more restrictive on Cranberry Farms on what they could do. It exempts a lot of their activities and has different permitting criteria. However, currently, neither one of our Cranberry Farms in Price County are within the mapped floodplain on the flood insurance rate maps that we use. So they're not affected at all.
They're not affected. Oh,
Because they're not within the mapped floodplain currently. However, we're going to get new firms at some point, and firm is flood insurance rate maps. If the cranberry marshes are mapped as floodplain on the new firms that we get, this portion would make a lot of their activities within their existing footprint exempt from floodplain permitting, and it would allow looser regulations moving forward if they were going to do something. So my recommendation is to absolutely have the Cranberry Farms portion in the floodplain ordinance.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we're not causing some unknown hardship to our existing agricultural people.
No, currently it's not going to do anything at all.
Anything at all. All right.
And I don't anticipate those areas being within the mapped floodplain. They're not on really any rivers. They're at the headwaters of all the water bodies that they're on for our
They're headwaters.
the two marshes we
Two
have.
marshes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Cranberry Lake is really the start of the North Fork of the Jump.
Right.
And
that-
yeah, because it flows from
They
there.
don't seem
then
to hurt it.
down through
That
Spring
river
Creek.
keeps working and it produces walleyes, so,
Yeah, and
yeah.
and then the one on Byfield, that's the headwaters of,
Lambo?
no,
Chippewa?
it's a small creek that flows from there, crosses 70, kind of by Barufka Reefs there, and then goes into the South Fork of the Flambeau.
Okay, were you looking for a motion to approve this?
We don't need a motion to approve. We would need to forward this to a public hearing at the July meeting. So what the proposal will be is you've got the draft floodplain ordinance. We've got our existing floodplain ordinance, it's chapter 505. We would be rescinding chapter 505 and adopting the new floodplain ordinance. I'm not sure what our numbering system would be on that. It'd be similar to what we did with the land sale ordinance here 3-4 months ago,
Okay,
where we
so-
rescinded the land sale ordinance and adopted the new.
Alan, could I ask a question quick? I need to print out the entire ordinance. I thought it was just an update, so I only gave them the red. So do you want me to have
Oh,
Jules?
you only got the red?
Yes. Do you want me to have Jules print them out real quick?
Oh, if you want to, sure.
I'm sorry. I'll
That's
bring
okay.
them.
Yeah, I think I had sent the whole one over.
You
but-
did. It was
okay.
my mistake. I thought it was
Yeah,
just an amendment to it.
It's like 48 pages or 40. Yeah, it's 48 pages, 47 pages long. So,
Does everybody want that?
Do we need that?
everybody want it or do
Need it?
Well,
I can email it.
you can email it? Cause
Okay, I'll email it right now.
Cause I had emailed it to you. Yeah, it's a PDF. I made it a fairly small PDF to email it to you.
as far as I'm concerned, a PDF online, if I could, at least have access to it, that'd be
Sure.
all right with me.
Yeah, I don't need
Yeah.
a copy.
Okay.
I got enough paper.
And we don't, like I said, we don't have a tremendous amount of options on what to do with this. This is an ordinance that the DNR gave us and said, here, you have to adopt this in order to be compliant with our flood insurance
Yeah.
program.
Maybe make sure to send it to the board chair too, Brian.
The ordinance is online anyway, isn't it?
The current chapter 505 is online.
Yeah.
On E code 360.
Right, so
The
you-
new draft ordinance I sent a PDF to Meredith on
But that's the important part of that is just what we're taking out. Or putting
We're
in,
actually-
putting in.
No.
Yeah, the red, I'm getting mixed up with the red. Yeah.
No,
No?
we're actually rescinding 505 and adopting
Oh,
the
okay.
new one, similar to what we did with the land sale ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I got you.
it's just too many nitpicky changes to go through and
Okay, yeah.
adopt a new one.
That's
or
why we need
revise the existing.
PDF because okay,
So
thank you.
rescind the whole thing and add a new one.
Rescinding and adopting the DNR model.
And then then it's gonna go to a public hearing and you have the approval you have approval from us to do that.
So the July zoning timeline, I guess, that I'd be looking at is to send it to the July Land Use and UW Extension Committee at a public hearing. You would review that ordinance and forward it to full county board at the August meeting for approval. Would be the timeline I'd be looking for.
Okay. Sounds good. Shoreland zoning ordinance amendments.
So since we were having to do this and having ordinance public hearings, I went through the other ordinances and tried to tidy up any issues because with ordinance amendments and ordinance changes, we need to send registered mailings to the towns, which is expensive. So I like to kind of do them all, and publication fees are expensive. So I like to try and do them all in one whack. So we don't have to keep on sending registereds. The shoreline zoning changes I had emailed or sent to you as well. That'd be the one on top, if you see where it says 520-25 and 520-29, be two separate pages. One of them deals with the vegetative buffer zone. It clarifies some of the language, so we're code compliant. You can see I've got the one in red where the language is crossed out, and then down below would be the new language. The top part says almost the same thing. We used to have in our ordinance 35 feet for every 100 feet of shoreline frontage. It now it's 35%, which is the way the DNR says that it should be enforced. So before it said 35 for every 100, 35%, basically the same thing, just clarifies it. It does limit and this is a code change that happened a few years back, the maximum viewing corridor that you can have per lot is 200 feet. So if you had 100 or 1,000 feet of frontage on the river, you can only clear 200 feet as your viewing corridor, not 350. That would be the 35%. If you divided it though, then you could clear.
What's the purpose of less than,
I don't understand
I mean, if you
that.
just want a little path that you went through there, it's 3
That-
feet wide? What's?
No, the reason with that is, and that's confusing, and we had to get some clarification. If you have 100 feet of frontage on a lake, you can't have 7 5-foot viewing corridors because you can break up your viewing corridors.
What about?
Does that make sense? It took some thinking for me and some talking to the DNR for me to get clarification on that.
When I take my boat and I travel along the shorelines, I see lots. I mean, there's nothing there other than lawn and a house.
Existing lots are,
So does that mean that everybody's got to go out and plant shrubs?
no, existing lots are existing lots, existing cleared vegetation. This is for new development.
No development. Okay.
Correct. So that's the change on that one. The main change on that is the 200 feet, that you can't exceed 200 feet per lot of a viewing corridor. We don't see it very often. There's not a lot. You know, you'd have to have 600 and some feet of frontage in order to be able to clear over 200 anyway. And then the other shoreland ordinance change, there was an act that passed a few years ago that said we could not restrict somebody's ability to have a flat roof on a boathouse and use it as a deck. So line F was actually,
You know, that's interesting because we have that one boathouse on Butternut. You probably know which one I'm talking about. And that was always a point of contention because actually it's got a flat roof and it's got a railing up there.
yeah.
And that supposedly is against what should have been done, but whatever.
It was
Now it's okay.
Now it's okay. That's that existing one that was kind of fallen. They fixed it up not too long ago.
No, this was at that resort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
north of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, now he's passed away. And so now somehow this is coming into play. It's kind of timing here is kind of interesting. But
Oh,
maybe he's pulling the strings up there or something. you know?
it's been, this has actually been, I think, a year and a half or so that act was passed to allow boathouses to have flat roofs.
That's interesting.
Counties were always 50-50 on whether some counties allowed it, some didn't. Now they said we can't.
I think the higher density lakes already, they do what they want anyway.
Towards Minocqua and stuff, yeah. Minocqua, they don't have a minimum. We still are allowed to limit our boathouses to 300 square feet. I think they have like 1,000 or 1,200 square foot minimum on their boathouses up in Oneida County.
So if you can't beat them, join them.
So this is the same deal. These ordinance amendments would be forwarded to public hearing at the July meeting.
I'm just going over can you build a boathouse?
Well, dry boathouses, waterfront storage structures, technically they're called. You can't put a wet boathouse in. So it's got to be above the ordinary high water mark.
Okay, so you can't drive your boat into the boathouse.
Correct. Yeah, they're
But
dry
you could put it
You could
right next to the
try.
shore.
up to the shoreline. Yes,
Okay.
as long as it's not in floodplain.
Sorry.
300 square feet in size.
Everybody has these covers now and they go in and out depending on the weather conditions, winter and summer. Yeah. All right, are we done with that? Are you satisfied?
Yeah, so we would forward those to public hearing at the July meeting.
Right. Got that? All right. So departmental reports.
No, I've got one more amendment.
Subdivision.
Oh, one more. What is it?
Subdivision.
Oh, okay.
So the DNR changed that.
So this one's actually been changed for several years. Our shoreline ordinance has it correct. Our subdivision ordinance hasn't. This is one where
Okay.
it was being regulated according to state statute. The language in our subdivision control ordinance just said something different than what the shoreline ordinance did. And since we were doing ordinance amendments, I wanted to get this cleaned up. It changed back in 2016, I believe, when the major shoreline ordinances changed, where Price County was always 30,000 square foot lots, 150 feet of frontage. When that act changed the requirements where we could not be more restrictive than on our 115, we had to change to allow 20,000 square foot lots with 100 feet of frontage. So this is just clarifying that
So we still have the impervious surface.
15%.
15%. So with a smaller lot, it's going to restrict the size of what people are going to be
It
able to.
will, but they're allowed to mitigate for any impervious surface that
Oh,
exceeds that. So with
okay.
mitigation, you can have unlimited
Meaning like a
rain
collection
garden,
pond or-
yeah,
Gotta get the
retention
water in the
pond.
ground.
Even guttering it and landscaping so it directs all the runoff away from the lake. So there's a lot of mitigation measures that are statutorily allowed.
You don't need any action on that. Just
Similar to that, we're just
Similar to
gonna
what?
forward it to
Okay, then we'll move on to
public hearing
departmental-
at the July meeting.
department reports.
So you get a copy of the permit reports. Things have been fairly busy. If you compare it to 2024, we're a little bit up, I guess, on numbers.
New construction.
Yeah, there's been some new construction, lots of septic system soil tests. Cell tower co-locations. I think I've had 4 of those in the past month come in. There seems to be a lot of cell providers that are adding antennas to existing towers. T-Mobile service will probably get a lot better up here. There's been
Personal
4 of them.
observation, I see it's getting better as far as reception when you drive down the road.
Yeah, it absolutely has gotten better.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Evan? Okay, hearing none, this portion of the committee meeting is adjourned. And we'll open up the land conservation. Roll call will be the same. Public comments? Anybody from the public wish to comment on land conservation? If you're online, *6 to unmute yourself. Any communications from any committee members? Okay, hearing none, department reports.
I don't have anything new for this. We're just working on finalizing everything from last year. I've got the end of the state's fiscal year is at the end of June here. So I've got grant applications due to review, and snowmobile grant periods are coming to an end at the end of June. So I've got to finalize that and get reimbursements sent in. Land info wise, we finished up our 2025 flight, so we should have new aerial imagery sometime early this fall. We contracted with AIRS. They did a leaf off air photos. Should be really high resolution. They should be really good. So
They do that
excited
with
to
a
get
drone,
those. No, airplane.
airplane.
That was done, I think, early May, late April, early May, I recall.
And you're
Just before
contracted
we
with
fund.
heirs to do
Heirs and
that?
Associates, yeah, through Land Info. We used our WLIP funds to pay for it.
So where's that gonna show up then, the new photos?
It'll be on our GIS site. It takes a while to review. We should get them back, I would say August-ish, August, September, somewhere around there.
So that's what Nick can show properties up. on
Correct,
that.
yeah.
That's
Or the public can view them.
Public.
They're handy, yeah.
So are the Mets and bounds included on that or just the?
The parcel lines,
Yeah.
they're not always entirely accurate, but they are shown on there, just like they are currently on our GIS site, yeah. It'll just be an overlay that's put on the site, so you'll have an option to click between currently you can see the 10s, 18s,
So all the property
20s, and
transfers
we'll be able to
and
see
that
the
will,
25s.
that will be updated just like a plat book. And the GIS as far.
Correct, yeah, they are currently, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And I'm sure you've heard plenty about our tax software. I'm working on that through Land Info as well. We might transfer over some of our permit tracking eventually to the new software. That'll be more through zoning, but otherwise I don't have anything new on
Yeah.
that.
Any questions for Evan?
Grant money for that new computer system from Land Info, is that gonna be a possibility?
Yeah, we'll hopefully be able to use some of you're talking about Transcendent for the tax
Yes,
software?
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be able to use some of our WLIP funds to pay for that, Wisconsin Land Information Program funds. We've used the last 2 years to pay for this aerial imagery project. But now we'll be able to use some of the funds hopefully to pay for that. And I spoke with the vendor of Transcendent and they'll allow payments over 2 to hopefully 3 years to kind of spread out the initial cost.
Good.
So, and it should be able to use some of our WLIP funds to pay for that. I don't know if it'll cover all of it right up front, but it should be able to.
All right, we'll declare that this portion adjourned. And miscellaneous on the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the May 22nd?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Bob to approve the minutes. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the vouchers have gone around. Agenda item number 15. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Michelle,
I'll second.
seconded by Doug. Any questions on the vouchers? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I do have, set meeting date which is next, is July 24th. I have come up personally with a conflict on the October 23rd. I'm gonna be at a maple syrup conference in Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, boy.
So do we need to miss any meetings?
If we schedule it early enough, unless we have something urgent come up, we certainly can plan to skip that August or October meeting.
Okay, if something
It's up to you
urgent,
guys. Yeah, we can just tell people we're not gonna have an October meeting. That's fine.
Well,
It's great if we know early.
I mean, I can't be here. We do have a vice chair, Doug. So,
yeah,
so he could do it too. But anyway, if we need to skip a meeting, that would be the one that I
Yeah,
would
that's-
be at anyway.
that's fine. And if we need something sooner, normally we always historically had skipped the November meeting because it fell around Thanksgiving or gun season.
Oh.
And
Well, we could
we
stick
could
with that
skip-
president too.
we could skip October and then we could always, if we needed something, move to early November potentially, but
Well, just so everybody knows.
yeah, normally it's starting to slow down for public hearings at that point anyway,
Yeah.
but.
We didn't have any this year.
Right.
I think everybody is,
It's been a while.
that we're gonna do.
We've
that
got a
has
couple
already done
conditional
it.
use permits scheduled for July, I know.
There's some scheduled for July.
for conditional use permit or special exceptions, I believe. I don't think there's any. I'd have to look to see if there's a short-term rental for July. But that market has slowed a little bit. The past 2 years, we haven't had them like we did 3-4 years ago. There was a lot of them coming in then.
Okay, so we'll meet July 24th. And according to the calendar, you've got some new information for our meetings. And I'll declare this committee meeting adjourned.